Mr. Johnson said he's going to be here momentarily, but a number of us, myself included, have other things on our schedule that were unanticipated for the timing of this particular meeting. So we're going to go ahead and start. And like I said, he'll join us momentarily. We have a quorum. We have Mr. Wingate on the screen. And let me just announce this is the delayed regular meeting of the Board of Registration and Election. Normally, we meet the second Thursday of each month, but during election season and the additional things that we have to do on the Secretary of State's timeline, we decided to move all of the meetings that we were needing to have today to today. So what I would request is everybody please turn your cell phones off, and we will start with public comment. Well, we're going to start with the approval of the agenda, but for those who are speaking, if you've signed up a card, please make sure that we have it here right now, and you'll get 2 minutes, and we will give you a warning when you're about 30 seconds out, and when you get to the time, please just wrap up your sentence. So I'm going to ask the board to, first of all, I want to ask for a modification of the agenda that isn't substantive, but timing-wise. If we could move new business ahead of old business. I have an appointment I have to get to. I think I can make it through the whole time for the business discussion and the convention votes. So if somebody would make a motion that we do
I'd like to make a motion to
Yeah, I'm interesting, but not doubly interesting. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda with the caveat that we change old business, we swap old business with new business to move the meeting along.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? There are none. Thank you. We will begin with communications and public response. I think I have all the cards. I'm going to try to do them in the order that I got them. The first speaker is Margaret Breen. If you'll come right down here and turn the microphone on. And then Mary Jo Pete, if you'll be ready to be the second speaker, that'd be great. Please also identify yourself and where you live. Yep, right there. Pull the mic down. Push the button on the right. It should light up, and you'll be good to go.
Okay, hi, I'm Margaret Breen. I'm a Fulton County voter, and I'm here to urge you guys to start early voting as early as possible on the 22nd and 23rd before Thanksgiving, so we can hopefully get kids who are home for the holidays to vote. I know several college students had trouble voting absentee because of the late receipt of their absentee ballot, so anything you can do to expand early voting to capture those kids would be much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Jo Pete is next, and the speaker after that is Julie Adams. Yeah, it should light up.
Oh.
And just pull that mic to a comfortable level.
Up here?
Yep.
Yeah, great. Hello, good morning. My name's Mary Jo Pete. I'm a registered voter in Fulton County. I wanted to come down and thank the board and the department for a well-planned, well-executed election from early voting, absentee voting, all of the different departments, the education, outreach, just fantastic job. I had a bird's eye view of both early voting and election day voting, and it was just terrific. It was just marvelous. I had a lot of poll observers who were highly complimentary of the managers and the workers at the polls. The goals of the department and the board of a fair, transparent voting available to all was readily apparent in the execution, and I believe that they were met completely. I have confidence that this department and this board, when making decisions about the early voting schedule, will do so with those goals in mind, as well as their workload and logistics. It's certainly clear that all voters love early voting, and that it would be the intent of this department and the board to set a schedule that as robust as the department can logistically and humanly handle. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Julie Adams is next, and after her, Mark Putman. Good morning.
I'm Julie Adams, and I'm a Fulton County resident. On this day of certifying our general election, please remember a few things. This election, you need to be reconciling all of the numbers. The numbers are the check-in numbers, the BMD numbers, the scanner numbers, and the number of physical ballots. We all know there are questions on these numbers matching. For the past several elections, Fulton County has had to recertify the elections. This time, we really need to reconcile and make sure that we have the numbers correct. Fulton's budget is over $37 million, which is about $48 per registered voter, while there are many other counties in Georgia that are spending $10 per registered voter. We have the resources to allow us for an accurate certification process. Fulton really still needs transparency in our elections. A case in point is the Elections Department has not responded to an open records request that I placed on October 23rd. I have no response for the straightforward request that would show that Adams Park Library Early Voting Center was or was not 364 votes higher on the BMD
30
than the
seconds.
scanners. 17 business days ago, I filed this open records request, and I am demanding that it's fulfilled today. And I think you guys should have those numbers too. We need as residents, and you need as board members, to know the numbers and have them reconciled and show a little transparency. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark Putman is next, and after that, Vikas Nagarajan. And I apologize if I didn't say your name right.
Thank you for letting me speak. Can I just go ahead?
Yes,
Awesome.
just say your name and where you live.
Yep. Alrighty. Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Putman. I'm the state lead at Voters at Tomorrow for the Georgia chapter, and I'm also a student at Georgia Tech. I'm here to speak because for me and many other students, Election Day on December 6th is right in the middle of our finals, smack dab. When we're trying to figure out a plan to go vote, we're also going to be studying for our future. And we are going to be relying on the flexibility that early voting provides. And, we're not the only ones that rely on this. People that are working multiple jobs, people that are single parents and have to have a job and do the other job of raising a kid, and people with disabilities. They all rely on this flexibility. So I encourage you all to make sure that we have early voting on Sunday, on the weekend, when people do not have a job and are able to take that time off to go vote. And make sure that you also start early voting as soon as possible, as you all can. And make sure that there are early voting options on campus for students so that they do not have to trek all the way back home, or they do not have to, if they do not have a car, they have that option right there on campus where they live. So if you all could keep that in mind, greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mr. Nagarajan.
Yeah. Good morning. I'm Vikas Nagarajan. I'm a master's student at Georgia Tech and the vice president for Partnerships for Voters of Tomorrow. I first would like to thank the board for recognizing the importance of having early voting at Georgia Tech during the general election. As the board knows, there were over 1,000 students who had the opportunity of early voting at Georgia Tech at the First Center during the 25th and 26th of October, 2022. That the board has recognized that the importance of early voting at college campuses, we would request that the board have early voting for at least 3 days during the early voting period at Georgia Tech at the First Center. The First Center is a central location which allows a lot of students to go finish their process in 5 to 10 minutes and then get along with classes, lunch, meeting their friends. And I recognize that the board has a lot of requests from college campuses and other places to have early voting, but I hope that the board recognizes how important early voting at Georgia Tech is. As a politically astute institution, it is important that we do recognize that these kind of students have an ability to do this. because as a master's student and as an undergrad student, like Mark was just talking about, there are a lot of exams which are going to come up. And right after Thanksgiving is when things are going to get more difficult for students to take that time off and go somewhere outside campus and perform their executive duty. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okey doke, I think that concludes our public comment. Appreciate it. Mr. Johnson, we moved new business ahead of old business because I have an appointment to get to at noon, so I'm going to stay as long as I can, but I wanted to get to the kind of the meat of the agenda. Without further ado, unless anybody's got any comments or questions, we're just going to go right into new business and go through the certification of the general and special election on November 8th, 2022.
Good morning, Board.
Good morning.
Okay, we submitted the official election results to the board yesterday for review. We have the numbers in front of us in regards to the general election for all locations, as well as the City of Fairburn alcohol sales ballot question, and are seeking board approval to certify the election.
I'm sorry, I'm just talking away without the mic. Before we get a motion to approve, can I just ask if any members of the board have any specific questions relative to the certification or any particular item relative to that? Mr. Wingate, I wasn't sure yet. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Chairperson Willard. Just so I'm clear, are we now also moving the monthly operations report behind new business?
Yes. If you have a specific question, go ahead. We're just trying to facilitate.
No, I'm fine. I just wanted to make sure that we were all clear that we are, in essence, going to that and taking up monthly operations, I'm assuming after we do the certification and the approval of early voting locations?
Yeah, so with the agenda, what we did was we just flipped new business and old business. So we're going to do the new business section right now, and then we're going to do the old
Okay.
business
I
section
just
right
wanted
now.
to make sure, okay, wanted to make sure that everybody was clear. Thank you.
Any questions about the certification?
Let me also state that the certification will require a runoff in the city of Fairburn, city of Roswell, city of East Point, and city of South Fulton from the election results,
Okay.
as well as a statewide runoff as well.
And anything else you want to say about the election before we make that motion?
No, ma'am.
Okay, well, I just want to say thank you and congratulations. I know y'all worked really, really hard, and you're going to do it now all over again in half the time with a holiday in the middle of it. So I just want to thank you for your work, because I know that it's relentless, and there's not much we can do to give you a break, but we do appreciate all of the improvements that we've worked so hard this year to accomplish, and that they paid off. So I just want to recognize that, and we are still striving for even more and better. But Mr. Wingate, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry again. I'm just trying to get back in sequence here. One comment that I'll make, even though it has absolutely no bearing on the certification as a result, there are continuing to be, in my last review, we have 5 precincts that show that we have no registered voters, but votes cast. And,
Mr. Wingate, I'm sorry, we missed
Following
that
this meeting, I'll
sentence.
send, yes, ma'am.
That
I'm
last-
sorry.
You just broke up, so we didn't get to hear you.
Yeah, technology.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my review, I have found again that there are 5 precincts that show no registered voters, but we have votes cast in those precincts. It was 5 precincts, and the votes that were cast totaled 8. Now, again, that's not going to change, obviously, the certification, but I just wanted to put that on the record. And I will follow up to staff and the board with, specifically what I'm referring to so that that can be reviewed and looked into.
Yeah, so we are also researching that. I think it's a total of 8 persons or something, a
Yeah,
small number.
that,
So it's most likely a clerical error that the person chose the
Okay.
incorrect combo when they were checking the person in. But we're reviewing those to ensure those 8 people did get the correct same ballot. So it would not affect the election. But we're
Okay.
pretty positive of that at this
Oh.
point.
okay, good. Well, you're aware of it, and I, in my review, it, popped up, on my screen. So just want to make sure that we are going through a review process to understand exactly why that is. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the review. Anything else? All right. Everything's accounted for. All the cards are in. We double checked.
We have triple and quadruple checked. We are good.
Okay. I'll take them.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept this, we approve the certification.
Second?
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
There are none. The motion carries. For the board that are here in person, I'm going to sign all of these, where these little flags are, and then to the left where it says assistant, you'll sign on one of those lines. So I'll start that process in one minute. Let's move, and again, congratulations, staff. We really appreciate you. Now we want to have a discussion about the approval of early voting locations, dates, hours for the general runoff election on December 6, 2022. I'm going to try to provide as much detail that goes into our process and decision-making. As many of you know, and I appreciate people who came down with your public comments today, we have a very limited time frame to turn around this election and prepare for the next election. As I said, in about half the time to do the same thing all over again. And we have timing constraints that are dictated by Georgia law as to when and how we give notice for when and how we have early voting locations. There are lawsuits that have been filed at this point to even challenge some of those assumptions. So you will hear in the discussion today that, and I'm going to ask questions that might help reveal some of the challenges that we are facing. But be that as it may, again, I'm very excited for the work the staff's done to get us ready for this discussion and to provide as much opportunity for people to vote as we possibly can within the limits of the law and our capacity to get it done right.
I just want to make sure I clarify that I need to publicly announce that we are certifying the City of Fairburn special referendum, the Fulton County-wide election, and the special election for the City of Atlanta, City of East Point, City of Fairburn, City of Roswell, and City of South Fulton.
Do we need to clarify that?
Out of an abundance of caution,
Yes.
I make a motion that we certify the list that everyone, should I read them all?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the certification of general and special elections from November the 8th for municipalities, the City of Atlanta, the City of East Point, the City of Fairburn, the City of Milton, the City of Roswell, the City of South Fulton, and Fulton County as a whole.
Anything else? Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? There are none. We will certify it for a second time with more detail. Thank you so much. I appreciate that help. Okay, let's talk about early voting locations and dates and times.
So we are proposing 24 locations to the board for approval. We have given you all a map as well as the locations themselves. If there is some discussion in regards to advanced voting being able to start on the Saturday prior to election, and we would like pending approval for that. Honestly, we would like to maybe expand those dates. We're going to double check our budget, double check with the facilities if we can possibly start on the 22nd for 2 days before the holiday. So we would like pending approval for those dates if possible, as well as possible campus locations if the campuses are available as well.
Can you, thank you for that. Can you please tell me what page the list of locations? 43. Can I can't find it. Thank you.
43.
Sorry.
It's on page 43, and the map is on page 44.
I don't know why I can't find it. Thank you. Thank you. All right. I'm apologize that I could not see this. So we had 43, and we have drop boxes at one, two,
At 7 locations. The drop boxes will not change. It would just be the dates that we would possibly, if we are able to start on the 22nd, depending on our ballot project and some budgetary review. So we would like to do that if possible. It would be the same 24 that would open up on the 22nd, and possibly if we can add a few college campuses, we'll do so if the college campuses are available and if our budget allows.
okay.
Those dates would be pending. It would be dependent upon the college itself and what their schedule is.
All right, so let me just talk just a little bit more for clarification for people who are watching. We have 7 Dropbox locations. They will be the same locations as they were during the,
Well, no, one has changed,
Okay.
since we are not using New Beginnings. It's, the Dropbox will be Alpharetta Library, Buckhead Library, C.T. Martin, Benson Senior Center, East Roswell Library, Denard Library, and Wolf Creek Library. And then, of course, people can also utilize the offices to drop off absentee ballots at North Phoenix, South Phoenix, and Government Center.
okay. Denard.
Yes, Denard is included.
So just to be clear, because this is a good educational opportunity for everybody, the number of drop boxes we have is determined by state law that it instructs that we have 1 drop box per 100,000 voters. So that's why we have the number of drop boxes we have, and then you also have the option of the North Fulton Annex, our office here, or the South Fulton Annex to bring your ballots in directly there. So just to be clear about that. Now, what we are proposing in this particular discussion is that we are going to approve starting voting at 7 a.m. on Sunday, November 27th, to end on Friday, December 2nd. So that is 1 week that begins on a Sunday morning, goes through the Friday morning. Now, there are a couple of things that are in flux right now, one of which is whether Saturday after Thanksgiving voting is permitted by state law. There are contradictory opinions about that. We will act accordingly if there is instruction. Well, the board can consider this. I'd like the board to consider that we give the staff the option to increase voting to that Saturday if we get instruction from a judge and/or the Secretary of State that changes the Secretary of State's directive at this point. Yeah, I hope I'm phrasing that correctly, but we want to give you the option to move forward. And there's a couple things, again, for people who are watching. Not only do we need the instruction from either the judge or the Secretary of State changing that directive, but we must give a week's notice prior to extending the voting. So that direction has to come to us with enough time that we're able to meet that other part of the law in terms of the notice. So I just want to hold that out there for a second. Now, Georgia law also allows us to have voting on the Tuesday and Wednesday before Thanksgiving. The challenge for us is we are right on the notification deadline for a week out for Wednesday voting. Tuesday, we might be right on the deadline, but we're right at the deadline. In the midst of all of that, what we have to do is we have other requirements that demand our staff's time between now and then to get ready to do the election. And you want to just talk a little bit about what the staff has to do between now and then?
Yes, we have to conduct an RLA.
Will you say what that is?
Yes, I'm sorry, the risk limiting audit, it is a hand count that we will be conducting starting on the 17th. So we have to prepare for that at the Georgia International Convention Center. That should hopefully take 1 day, we're hoping. The deadline to complete that is on Friday. So our plan is to do that as well as get prepared for the runoff at the same time. So if we're able to obtain approval to start voting, and if our budget allows, we will do so, and we'll make sure we make the decision by the end of today. And it will be advertised on the website if we're able to open up those sites as early as the 22nd or the 23rd.
Okay, thank you. So again, what I want people to be really clear is we have a mandated by the Secretary of State hand count of his race that was announced that we would have a hand count. We didn't know which race prior to the election. That's going to take a tremendous amount of time. It may take a day for doing the count, but the preparation and the recruitment of the people and the training of the people that have to do that is another extra thing that we have to do. And we happily do that, but it, again, puts some constraints on what our staff is actually able to do while still maintaining our expectations of a perfectly run election as we get into the runoff part. So let me see if anybody has any questions, and then I'm going to make a statement that might guide how we consider a motion. Does anybody have any questions or statements that they want to make relative to that? Mr. Johnson?
Actually, let's go ahead and take care of that first, and then I'll speak after.
Okay. Anybody else? Mr. Wingate, anything?
Yeah, let me make sure I understand correctly from what Ms. Williams just stated. Going to look at the cost issues to include November 22 and 23 as early voting days. You're also going to be looking at whether or not we can, by statute, would have early voting on the 6th. Yes.
Yes.
Is the work to be done here to look at what that cost is going to be that would actually increase the number of days by 3? Meaning that that would include the Saturday, the 26th as well. Is that what we're considering?
Well, we don't have a motion, but yes, what we're discussing is a couple things. One, whether we have the staffing and budget to do, to extend early voting to Tuesday and or Wednesday, November 22nd and 23rd. Separately, but also, if we get a judge's decision or instruction from the Secretary of State that voting on Saturday, November 26th is permitted by law, because there are some discussions and lawsuits and things going on to try to see if there's a resolution to that, then it would be good if we could give staff the ability to respond to that and make a decision. Is that clear enough? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's clear.
Okay, thank you.
Just want to make sure we all are clear.
Yeah.
What's being considered.
And just one more thing. One of the things I just want to say is, again, we're doing what we have to do, which is basically change the tires while the car's moving, and we're trying to do the best we can. But because we have a short early voting period and incredibly high interest in this election, as evidenced by the general election, we do want to give as many opportunities for advance voting that we can in order to keep the lines at a manageable level so that people can come out and cast their vote. And when you only have less than, what do we have now, 6 days that we know we can do, and then election day with a potential for thousands of people, well, in our instance, up to 700 people come out to vote in that period of time. We just want to make all the opportunities we can. So I think I'm going to just propose a motion, and then if somebody wants to rephrase it or change it or what. Oh, please.
And then, so we also have to consider poll watchers,
Yes.
getting them credentialed, because that would mean getting that done earlier. All of the other things that we do in preparation for the 26th would have to be done like this week.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. For the 22nd, would have to be even done much earlier. Tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Tomorrow.
In a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, continue, you still have the floor, Ms. Reed.
Yeah, and so, Ms. Williams, I guess, Nadine, can you talk about the considerations that will be made from a budgetary standpoint and staffing as to whether or not?
We will have to ensure we have the budget to pay the staff. But secondly, to see if staff is available. A lot of people do travel for the holidays, so we'd have to see if these managers that worked the previous election who are already trained can come in and work prior to Thanksgiving. They could possibly not be available. So all that has to be done in a short period of time. And, if we are not able to fully staff them, what we don't want to do is open a few sites and then have long lines on the 22nd and 23rd. So our opinion is if we cannot open all of them, we would prefer to wait until the 27th, if we have to do so, to not start bottlenecks at certain locations for those 2 days. So we have to factor all those things in to ensure that we can possibly not cause chaos, honestly, on those 2 days.
Okay. Other questions? Everybody?
Talking a lot today.
Yeah.
Like he has a question.
Mr. Wingate, do you have another question?
Yeah, and I'm assuming, Ms. Williams, you're going to have to do a check today to make sure that all of the EV locations are in fact adaptable to take on those extra days.
Yeah, so it's a facility issue as well. They might not be, I guess most of them are county buildings, so we should be okay, but we'd have to still double check that. We can't assume anything at this point.
Okay, and also, all of us on this board are probably getting emails from parents of public school students who are concerned about schools closing for voting. Let me just say, we are not using any school buildings for this runoff. That doesn't mean that the school board isn't making a different choice about whether they're going to have school during this period of time or not, but we hear you, and I know Mr. Wingate's been real concerned. Oh, we have one?
Sorry, did you say for advanced voting or for election day? Election day, we
election.
already.
Oh, we do on election day, okay.
Yes, we do have schools in election.
Got it. Okay, so anyway, but we hear you. It's not something we can do something about this particular election cycle, but we will hear, we hear you, and we'll make some discussion about how or if we can make some changes relative to that in upcoming elections. It's difficult to find spaces that are available to us that can handle the accessibility issues, the power issues, the timing issues, parking, locations, but we do the best we can. And I want to thank everybody at Fulton County for making the libraries and other office buildings available to us for the early voting during the holiday. All right, so what I would propose, well, so for the people who are listening, right now, what is firm and known is that early voting, advanced voting in Fulton County will begin on Sunday, November 27th, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. each day up to and through Friday, December 2nd. So that's 6 days. What also is pending is one or more lawsuits to determine whether Georgia law would permit advance voting on Saturday, November 11th, which... November 26th, sorry. November 26th. And if there is a change relative to a judge's decision or the Secretary of State's instruction, I think the staff would like to extend advance voting to the locations that are already permanent, that are already in this list. But there's, again, we need to get that in enough time for notice and other kinds of things that need to be done. And then if staff feels like they can accommodate early voting at these locations and possibly including some campus locations which may or may not be open those days, perhaps we would like to give them the authority to do it at the campuses, at one or more of the campuses that we have extended voting for in the general election. Does that sound clear and right? So I'll entertain discussion and a motion, and if we want to break it up, we could do that into two motions.
Yeah, I would recommend that we have two motions.
Okay.
One is in reference to giving the department the ability to investigate and make a determination based on budget, and then the other has to do with extending the early, adding another early voting site, right? Or no?
That'd be the same thing.
Well, no, you're right. The one thing that's on the thing is whether we have the budget and schools are open and other kinds of things to add advanced voting locations at one or more of the campuses. Right, is that what you're saying?
And the extra, and
No,
Well, I
she's
don't
saying
think
break,
we're
it.
not
What
dealing
she's saying
with
is break
schools
it up.
during early voting.
But the schools are not part of early voting,
Not right now.
not right
Correct.
now. But
Colleges.
you're talking about
talking about-
colleges.
The college satellite, college
You're
satellite.
talking about colleges or?
The colleges, that's what we're
Right.
talking about, right?
Yeah.
And
thought
the,
that
and the
was a part of it.
22nd and
Wait,
23rd.
let's, I hear stuff over here and it's distracting.
We're also talking about colleges, so adding an extra early voting site, am I correct? At one of the universities, is that correct?
That is correct. Which is dependent upon the school's availability and the budget also as well. So those are two factors. If we're able to add to the college campuses, we will advise as soon as possible.
Good question. Would we be doing the entire
No.
week? Would just be like we did during
Yes, it'll
general,
be
just a couple
most
days?
likely 2 days on
Okay.
each campus.
That's what.
If
all right,
they have
thank you.
availability.
Thank you. Okay. I think that maybe we should look at two motions, one with what's given, for sure, and the other is the option to the department to make the determination per budget and facilities and manpower on the Saturday, the 26th, and Tuesday and Wednesday, the 22nd and 23rd, and the college satellite locations.
Is that your motion?
That's just a suggestion. Any discussion? I mean, I'm just throwing that out there as two different motions.
Dr. Ruth, does that
Is that
comport with
answer
what you were suggesting?
It's fine, it's fine.
I'm sort of hearing
No,
three, actually.
Yeah.
I thought I heard three.
Yeah, so why don't somebody make a motion right now, just to get it off the table, that we approve advanced voting in absentee drop box locations that are per staff recommendations from Sunday, November 27th to Friday, December 2nd, from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Let's just,
So moved.
no, I can't make the motion.
I make a
Oh,
motion.
you just made it, okay.
Okay,
Making.
Is there a
So
second?
moved.
second.
Any discussion? Okay, properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? There are none. You okay, Mr. Wingate, with that? Thumbs
Yes.
up. Thank you. Okay. That motion carries, so that is done. Now what we have as part of our discussion is
Option two.
options for college campuses, option for Saturday if the law is interpreted differently, and options for the 22nd or 23rd for any and all if the budget and staffing and timing of notice can be met.
And Ms. Williams, have you spoken with the Secretary of State's office as late to just get an idea of whether or not that is going to be approved or
They did
allowed?
send out an election bulletin that says those dates are available, if we're able to do so. So
Okay.
again, yes,
So
for the
the dates-
22nd and 23rd,
So
not the
the-
26th.
Okay, the dates are available and are allowable by law. It's just whether or not we have the staff and budgetary.
And can meet the notice
And can meet the
requirements.
notice
Notice to
requirement.
place it on the website. We're 1 day short of that notice. So I want to see if we can get an exception to that rule.
And then what's the notice date that it has to go out?
7 days prior to the start date on the web, to be placed on the website.
Okay, so that is what, tomorrow? Or
So
today?
if we put it on today, that would suffice as a 7-day notice.
Good. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it would be, we would make that, if we can get everything answered today, we can make that requirement and put it on the website today.
Okay.
Okay, and then do you need to go to the BOC for approval from a budget or no? Okay, that's
No,
not-
ma'am.
Okay.
All right, so we've done the kind of the base locations. We've got colleges, one or more. We've got that Saturday thing, and we've got the 22nd and 23rd. Would somebody like to make a motion of any or all of that?
I'd like to make a motion that, let's carve out Saturday, the 26th, separate from the other dates, because I think that's dependent on litigation or the deference from the Secretary of State. So I'll make a motion to, if there's a change from the Secretary of State on allowing voting, early voting on the Saturday, November 26th, that we give you the permission to move ahead with that option.
Before there's a second, is there any discussion to that? Okay, I'll entertain the second.
Oh, Mark's got his hand up.
Oh, Mark, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Now, can we address which college campuses are in consideration here for this?
Well, that isn't part of the motion I just made. The motion I just made was just on Saturday, the 26th, giving the department the option to, if there's a change from the SOS, that they can put that date in as a start date for early vote.
So I can't ask that question at this point.
At the next one.
But we're going to answer it after we,
Yeah.
dispose with
Okay,
this
fine.
motion.
Okay,
So
fine.
right now, the motion on the table is, can I suggest you amend that to say direction for Secretary of State and/or a judge's order?
Direction of Secretary of State and/or a judge's order, yes.
The only reason I'm making
Yeah,
the
that's
distinction,
fine.
I think we would get something from the Secretary of
Right.
State, but we have a timing notice issue.
Right.
And so I just want to make sure that, that's
So
okay.
amended.
Is that okay with everybody? I'm not trying to
No, that's
game
fine.
the system here. I just want to make sure we're broad and inclusive.
That's fine.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion.
Anybody a second?
And there's a second? Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 That's
Opposed?
fine.
There are none. Okay, we're moving on to, let's see, we've done the base.
Yeah.
We've done the Saturday, and now we're on the colleges with your question being in order. Mr. Wingate, I'll let Ms. Williams discuss that.
Yeah, so the only campus that reached out to us was Georgia Tech, and they honestly had the highest turnout when it came to voter turnout at the campus. So at this point, it would be Georgia Tech. We have not heard from the other campuses expressing interest at this point. So it may just be one. If, depending on the budget, we probably will only go with one site. We will reach out to the other campuses to see if they're interested, but again, we have budgetary constraints in regards to that.
But we have to assume now that that's on the table, that you may hear from the other college campuses.
Right. We
But
only
that
heard
would
from-
have to be, that'd have to be today, correct?
Exactly. We have heard from Georgia
Okay.
Tech. We have not heard from the others. If we're able to reach and contact them, then we will do so and add it to the sites.
So would you like us to give you the authority to do one or more college campuses as
Yes, please.
availability,
It would be-
interest,
Yes, for
budget?
the same campuses that we had for the general. We would like to do those same ones if we're able to.
And you'll make your determination based on all of those things and including their performance during that two-day period?
Yes, I will.
Any questions about that, Dr. Ruth?
Yeah, as well as including, if Georgia Tech reached out, thinking about the location of those other campuses and the ability of students to get to Georgia Tech, if that's the closest, and what other, it may not just be another school campus, but what other early voting campuses, early voting locations are close to that campus. So I think we need to be very strategic. If we're talking about having monetary constraints and monetary constraint budget being an issue, that we take that into consideration when we are making this decision. It may be that we can only accommodate one college campus, and so that needs to be considered. That's my point.
Okay.
Yes, Dr. Ruth. And also too is, again, I think one of the challenges here, I think that Ms. Williams brought up is going to be at this particular closeness to the commencement of this is to get it staffed.
All right, so I think
You
we've
know,
had,
I think we have to think that is certainly something today that's going to have to be done by, the Ms. Williams staff. And, I think that'll probably lead a lot to where, this all ends up.
that's correct.
Because it is it's a couple of days before Thanksgiving. As we all know, people do travel and go places. So, we'll have to see where they all come out there.
Yes. Okay, can I have a motion relative to the college campuses?
Can I make one discussion?
Yep.
point? I think that we also need to, since these are the options and we're leaving it up to the department, that we need to add the Tuesday and Wednesday in there. Because we have not addressed that yet, the 22nd and 23rd.
Yeah, let's do that as a separate
You
motion.
want to do that as a separate motion?
Would you mind, because it,
No,
because
that's
the
fine.
college campus is a slightly different topic. They'll-
okay.
They'll go
That's
as
fine.
determined.
All right, I'd make a motion on giving the department the authority, once they've done the research, on having satellite voting locations at the colleges we had during general election.
At
And leave-
some or,
Pardon?
at some, at one or all.
At one or all of the,
One or more. Sorry.
of the locations that we had during general election.
All right, is there a second? Second? Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? There are none. The motion carries. Thank you. Okay, last one is extending advance voting to Tuesday, November 22nd, or Wednesday, November 23rd, with, there are similar considerations about budget, staff, availability of locations, and whether or not the staff can get, and legal notice that we will, I'll entertain a motion that we let staff try to explore that and make the best determination possible for our ability to execute the great election we know you're going to execute.
So moved.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, Mr. Wingate, I'm sorry, we didn't mean to move fast, but you were making a face that looked like you had something to say. I
No.
apologize for that. The motion
No, no,
carries.
I would-
Let me
I
just say,
would-
the motion carries.
Yeah,
I apologize
was
for that.
just, no, as a point of order, I was just curious about the chair making the motion.
I'm sorry, I didn't make the motion. I didn't think I was.
Aaron made the motion.
Oh, I
I
thought
made
you,
the
I
motion.
guess, I think you so moved it, but that's okay.
Did I?
Let the record
No.
show.
No.
That's fine.
So moved means that whatever the person said, I'm making the
I
motion.
understand what so moved means, Mr. Johnson.
Well,
Thank
you
you.
didn't recognize that.
Well,
Okay.
I heard the chair, laying it out, and then you so moved her motion.
We can take it over, well, and we can't really take it over
Yeah,
because we'd
we'll
have to
get
take it back.
Let's move on. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, so what we have done now is approve the advanced voting locations, the kind of the base, if you will, and then we have given staff some very specific instruction on other things that they might consider and expand to should budget, personnel, timing, notice, legal factors allow them. But let me just manage the expectations of the people who are watching, that even though we have given the staff the option for all those things, that does not mean that the staff is going to do all of those things. We have really a lot of constraints about what we're able to do beyond this base. But because time is moving very quickly and having a special called meeting to come back and reconsider specifics relative to that, we will trust their judgment and their ability to do what's right, to allow as many people to vote in this little teeny time. And the last thing that I'll say about that is, please, voters, make a plan, come out early, and vote as soon as you possibly can,
Okay.
because Election Day is bound to be a very enthusiastic voting day, and it'll be best for all if we can get people in and out early. All right, now we will move to the old business section of the agenda. And the first thing would be the approval of minutes for the special meeting on September 13th, the executive session on September 13th, regular meeting on September 28th, executive session on September 28th, regular meeting on October 13th, executive session on October 13th. Any discussion, corrections, things you want to pull off?
Nope.
Okay, anybody want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we accept, we approve the minutes of the special September 13th, executive September 13th, regular meeting the 28th, executive session the 28th, regular meeting the 13th, executive session the 13th minutes.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? There are none. The motion carries to approve those minutes. And now, I think we're going to do a short monthly operations report. I will let you, Ms. Williams, move us through that.
Okay, we will start on page 23 with the administrative division. I'm sorry, page 22 with the administrative division.
There you go.
Good morning, board and citizens.
Good morning.
The October report for the Administration Division, we will discuss vacancies. We currently recruiting for the following. Director, that position is still open. Registration Manager, interviews have been completed and employees on board. Registration Officer, we are still reviewing and conducting interviews. Preparation of the 2022 elections, we recruited additionally 26 security specialists who provide security during our advanced voting. We have continued procurement of the necessary goods and services for the November and December election. And we routinely process and submit invoices for payment. Campaign contribution disclosure report, late and non-filers report, has been submitted to the state for the September 30th filing. And the next one was on Friday, October the 25th, with the grace period of Wednesday, November 2nd. And this is the conclusion of our October administration report. Any questions?
Okay, is someone going to discuss the budget in that report, the 2022 election budget? At the bottom of that page.
Okay, Ms. Janelle will cover the budget portion.
All right, we are operating within our budget for 2022. So we are currently on track for our full budget. As you see, the total elections budget for 2022 is the $33 million that you see on the operating report. The operations budget is at $4.4 million. So we are currently tracking within our budget, including coming into the December runoff of where we are for budget purposes. I've run the budget actual reports and provided that to the finance department, and so we're currently tracking within our budget. And we have lots of projects that we've got going on, as well as getting ready for the recount that's coming up and providing the funding that's needed for the recount at the Georgia International Convention Center with 400 staff that we're bringing on for that recount project. So all of those things are within the budget numbers that we have. Thank you.
Any questions about that? Can I just say thank you all so very much for operating within a budget that is faced oftentimes with really unanticipated things like a runoff, like a recount that requires 400 staff and the renting of a major hall to have room to do that. Those were not things that we could anticipate going in, but you guys did a great job of forecasting your budget to get us there, and having a runoff on top of that just adds to the equation. Also, just to say for folks that listen in, we are still on track with our new election center where everything is going to be in one location, and the staff will be in a location together. Really excited about that. That's something that's kind of first and second quarter of the new year, and we'll be talking a lot more about it, but that goes into this budget. And again, with all those moving parts, inflation, the run-ups, really appreciate your management of our budget, given all of those challenges. Thank you.
On page 24, we will cover the absentee division.
Good morning, Board. In the month of October, again, we spoke with several vendors, Blue Crest, Tadno Ballot Solutions, OPEX, and Fort Orange. Also, in the month of October, we began mailing out absentee ballots on the 11th. We concluded absentee ballot mail out on the October 28th. Drop boxes opened October 17th, and we were able to collect almost 6,000 from the drop boxes during the time that they were open, operational during early voting hours. On the statistics at the time of this report was 23,167, but as you can see, this report was provided as of, I think, Thursday or Friday, so it hadn't changed much from what was provided in the results. So I think that was 23,200, if I'm not mistaken, or 220. Electors had the ability to carry their ballot up until November 14th, and some of them did. And that will conclude the report.
I'm going to have some questions, but I'll defer to y'all that if you have questions. For the board, Mr. Johnson, sorry.
Just a couple of questions. For the runoff, people are able to apply for their absentee ballot currently?
Yes.
And when will the absentee ballot start going out?
Whenever the ballot project is approved, so we're anticipating between Friday and Monday.
Can you just say for the...
Yeah, what are those dates? I'm sorry.
Okay, sorry.
I just want to make sure that we're explaining for the public. Could you say
Sure.
what that is so that people understand what the process is?
Okay.
Okay, so for the ballot project, we had to make sure all the local races, that the ballot itself was proofed and confirmed from the municipality. So we did those things. We have sent our ballot sign-off to the Center for Election Systems, and they're building the ballot project. Once that happens, we will have the program to put on the machines. They'll be able to send the ballot project to our ballot vendor to start making the ballots. So that would be what Ms. Bodison is referring to get the actual paper ballots in so she can actually physically put them in the mail. So all those things have to take place before she can mail them.
Do we have to wait for the Secretary of State's office to certify? Because my understanding, they're not certifying today.
I'd have to confirm that. I'd have to
Okay.
confirm that information. We have to wait for them. But
So the earliest people, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. So the earliest that people who may have already applied for their absentee ballot, that they should start looking for it probably the latter part of next week.
I would have
Yes.
to agree with that, yes.
And then they only have, whatever days we do early voting for, say, college students or people who may be in town or people getting ready to go out of town or something like that, or folks that just don't necessarily trust that their ballots will get back in the mail fast enough, because we only have a week. They'll be able to drop them off at the 7 drop boxes and the 3 offices, correct?
Yes, and they can also surrender their ballot if they choose to vote in person. They can bring it in and surrender it and vote in person as well during advanced voting or on election day.
Okay. And I feel like I had one more, but that'll do for now. Thank you.
Other questions?
I have a quick question. On the, when we're using the two, the south annex and the north annex for dropping off absentee ballots, can we make sure we have signage there?
Yes, that was brought to our attention last election, so we have had those signs created and they will
Okay.
be placed.
Great, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, Dr. Ruth?
And what's the date of drop-off of the absentee ballots? Just
For the drop boxes, it's on the last day of advanced voting, which is on the, what day? The second. When the ballot, December 2nd, when the advanced voting sites close, but they have up until election day at 7 o'clock to take them to the offices.
To the North
North
Annex.
Annex, South
and
Annex,
South
or
Annex,
Government Center.
Or Government Center, okay.
Mr.
And they
Wing-
can do that the day, up till the day of, did you say?
Until 7
Election day,
o'clock
right.
on Election Day.
Okay.
Mr. Wingate, did you have any questions? I'm sort of going through the line. Okay, thank you.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, so the lesson here for folks who want to vote absentee is get your request in right away, and then understand you need to return it either by mail or in person at the locations we've just described as soon as possible, and understand if you put things in the mail over the Thanksgiving holiday, there's going to be some delay. Again, none of these things are hurdles that we put in place, but we just want to make sure that people, and I know we've had a lot of discussion about kids on campus who might or might not be here during Thanksgiving and be able to vote. We're trying to do everything we can to facilitate that, but do us all a favor and get those things in right away, and we will get them out as quickly as we can, but again, understand the timing of when we can start sending them out is not dependent on necessarily what we do, but the sequence of things that we have to do to get those ballots back to be able to send to you. Thank you for going through those details. I appreciate it, because we've had a lot of interest.
Okay, on page 28, registration.
Good morning. As of October 31st, there were 860,722 registered voters in Fulton County. 752,839 of those voters were active. 107,883 were inactive. In the month of October, we received 15,410 registration applications. That was inclusive of DDS applications, online applications, third-party vendors, and applications dropped off at our office. As of November 11th, we have a total of 18,541 applications to be processed. Our front office was very busy in the month of October. We received 1,265 people come into our office to either verify their polling location, register to vote, or check the status of their registration. We have been conducting interviews for the registration officer vacancies within our division. Recruitment is still ongoing. We will continue to do street maintenance, street audits. We work with Blue Raster in order to ensure that people were in the correct precinct prior to Election Day, and we will continue the list maintenance activities and responding to state election investigations. That will conclude the report for the registration division.
Questions? Mr. Wingate? Sorry, I think you may
Yes,
be. Okay.
thank you, Ms. Marshall. Question is, of our current voter file, how many of the voter records are flagged pending?
So currently, there are 5,572 people flagged as pending. Those people are in regards to challenges, but I will have to look at who's pending due to new registration. So that's a different type of pending. Would you like that number as well, or are you asking only for challenge reasons?
Well, combination, I guess, of everything, just because we've had so much discussion on this, just trying to make sure that we're all kept up to date on that work that you all have had to do and have done, just so we know what that number is going forward. Because, hopefully, as it stands right now, you're 5572, you're going to have some curing to those, hopefully and obviously, just so that we, continue to track, so we roughly know how many of those that we still have on our current file.
So currently, as of today, if we look at our current dashboard, there are 5,435 pending voters. That will be inclusive of people that we placed in pending status due to challenges and people who are newly registered pending verification.
Okay. Those, there's categorically, there's various reasons, as we know, for these voter files that are pending. Do you maintain a breakout of those? In other words, lack of date of birth, business address, some of the things that I think that we've seen and had to deal with here over the last several months. Is that kept that way, Ms. Marshall?
Yes, I can email that to you, the breakdown of the people that are currently in pending. But what I can say right now is I pulled my report so that I'll be prepared this morning. There are 663 pending age. There are 4,087 pending the 40-day clock. So those are people that are on the 40-day clock right now. There are 685 pending the 26-month clock. And then I'll provide the breakdown of the people that we placed in pending as far as the challenges via email.
Beautiful, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Other questions? Mr. Johnson?
I remember my question that I forgot for Mariska.
Okay.
Sorry. One of the issues that I think that we discussed that several people had was how to do the absentee ballot application. Can you make sure that the folks understand exactly what they need to do so they don't run into that issue? Because they have less time this time.
Can I just make sure we're finished with the registration report, and then we'll just have her do that? Just 1 second.
Okay.
That's a good question. Any other questions for Ms. Marshall relative to that? I have a question. So we have 18,000 applications to be processed, and those need to be processed prior to the beginning of advanced voting, is that correct?
Yes, and speaking with the SOS this morning, we have already begun processing them as of yesterday. When I spoke to them and I spoke with Dominic, they're going to pull the file on Friday evening, usually around 9 o'clock. So we will have those applications in prior to that deadline.
Okay. And I noticed that you have 6 vacancies in the department, so you're still going to be okay getting all that done with that many vacancies?
Yes, ma'am, we will.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? Okay.
Well, now I have a question for her because
Okay,
you sparked something.
All right, you ask her a question, and then we'll bring this part to a conclusion. We'll go back to Ms. Bodison.
Okay. For clarity, is there a new registration deadline for the runoff?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Johnson. So for the runoff, there's a federal deadline, which was November 7th. So all of the applications that we received in our office prior to November 7th, we are responsible for processing those. For the citizens, we would like to let you know that if you are registering for the first time or if you're registering for the first time, you will receive a federal-only contest ballot. So you will not get anything outside of the federal election.
So what that means is the registration deadline before was October 3rd.
The registration deadline before was October 11th.
Oh, it was the 11th. I
Yes, sir.
apologize. It was October the 11th. So everyone who submitted an application, a registration application, between October 12th and November 7th, they will be able to vote in the runoff, but they will only be able to vote for the federal election, which is the U.S. Senate race.
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that because there's been a lot of question on can people vote if they weren't registered. Well, what about, and this may not be a registration question, if you didn't vote at all, but you were registered, you didn't vote in the general, can you vote in the runoff?
Yes, sir, you can.
Okay. That's it.
Other questions, comments? In wrapping up with that, to your point, then I'll go back to you. Again, if people are watching, people in this room, please, 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 go to the Secretary of State's website, check My Voter page, make sure everything is in order. If it's not, contact us now. I also want to thank my colleagues who were available all day long, from 10 a.m. to, I think, 6 p.m. on Election Day. to hear challenge voters who came in with corrections. We had a number of people who made a point to come and do that and then return to their polling place for voting. And I just appreciate y'all because that was, again, some extra, and appreciate you doing that. All right, now back to Ms. Bodison to answer Mr. Johnson's question.
So just to go back, and I apologize for, I almost wrote it down. Apparently, we had an issue with a lot of people when they were applying for their absentee ballot, and this primarily pertained to people who applied online. There's a two-step process, and it seems as though a good number of people only did the first step thinking they were going to get their absentee ballot in the mail, but because they didn't do the second step, it was not totally processed. Can you go through that process just so people understand what they need to do?
So when you go to the Secretary of State's website, Jarvis, their new system, it has you fill out this form, your name, information, phone number. If you do not upload the application signed, not an electronic signature, you have not submitted a absentee request. So we have where some electors are filling the form out and there's no PDF, there's no attachment. That's not a request.
So basically what you're saying is when you go online, you need to fill out the online form.
Sure.
Print that online form out, sign it,
And
scan
then-
it back in, and then upload it to the portal so it's a fully completed application.
Absolutely.
So just for one more time, because apparently there were a lot of voters who filled out the online form and they completed it, and they thought that that was all they
That was
had
the
to do. So they were waiting for their absentee ballot, and of course, it never arrived. And then Mariska and her team were able to go in and see for some people that they had filled it out online, but because they didn't have an attachment, they didn't. Her team actually reached out to some people as much as they could to say you have more to do, but obviously they weren't able to do that for everyone. So I just wanted the general public to be clear that when you fill the application out online, you fill it out, you print it out, you sign the documentation, you scan it back into the system, and then you upload it into the portal, and then that is considered a completed application.
So may I just ask a follow-on question to that? Is there an alternative to scanning and uploading that? Because, you know, I just kind of learned how to do that in recent years. So that might be someone, it might be difficult for someone. Can you tell us what they would do?
Yes, they can simply email to elections with an s.absentee@fultoncountyga.gov.
And can they also mail it, although that would take some time?
Yes, but we're really encouraging voters to email if they can, because, I mean, as you know, if we get it late, there's nothing we can do but send them the notice.
Okay. All right, any other questions about that? Again, folks, make a plan, start now. Call us if you need help. Thank you. All right, next.
On page 32, voter education.
Good morning, board members.
Morning.
We'll go through this quickly for you. In the month of October, we trained 2 deputy registers, and that was really just the 2 new members that joined my team, giving us a total of 490 for the year. We registered 476 voters, giving us 2,320 on the year. We recruited 60 poll workers, and that gave that total of 956 for the year. We did 5 voter identification cards, giving us a total of 50 for the year. We held 85 events, giving us a total of 496 for the year. We assisted with 75 absentee applications, giving us 372 for the year. Because we were so busy, we did 100 connections, and connections is just the people we're outreaching to host events, but that gives us a total of 2,336 for the year. We had 6,800 event interactions, giving us over 20,000 for the year. We had about 10 media inquiries, giving us 41, and I can confirm this number hopefully with Ms. Waller at some point. There were several civic holidays in October, and so we wanted to make sure we focus on those holidays and also conducting outreach to the senior centers, colleges and universities and municipalities, and engaging our deputy registers. So we coordinated 28 events for National Voter Education Week. And you can, those events are listed below for what we did for National Voter Education Week. And then for the sort of National Vote Early sort of weekend, we coordinated 11 events, and there were several organizations that we worked with that also hosted events on that weekend to encourage people to vote. And all of those events are listed below as well. We also focused in with our public schools to work with some of them with Fulton County and Atlanta Public Schools. We hosted several events with the schools to get those students registered before the federal voter registration deadline of November 7th. And then we're working on right now through towards the end of October and actually through the beginning of this month, we're working with doing outreach to the senior centers and facilities that we've previously visited, just to make sure there are not any others that need absentee applications. We've had several centers already call us to help them fill out applications for December. And as always, we're continuing to outreach to the different municipalities and attend various events to make sure we're getting the education outreach initiative out to all the voters in Fulton County. And that would conclude the October report.
Thank you. Questions?
Can I just make a comment? I want to thank you for all the outreach you've done. I think it's made a difference. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, questions, comments?
That concludes our operations report.
Great. Before we move on to the next piece, I don't believe we have a reason for executive session today. Anybody disagree with that? Okay. Anybody have anything else that they want to say? We had such a good election. I just want to continue to recognize the hard work of the staff and thank all of the voters for getting out early, making a plan, coming to vote, and having record turnout. It was really a great day, and we appreciate everybody that helped make this a great election. I think they need Yeah. Okay. Thank you all so much. I just see the students from Georgia Tech leaving. I just want to acknowledge the great job that they did at getting students to vote. They're not listening to me, but they get the accolades. I'm a Georgia Bulldog fan, but go Tech. You did good. All right, motion?
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, I thought we were saying something.
Oh, well.
Okay.
Well, we don't have a second yet.
I did.
Oh, okay.
I was going to also echo the sentiments of the chair. I know that the staff get tired of me calling, texting, calling back, and then texting again. But I promise you, I only do it because I want to make sure that everyone has equal access and the ability to vote. But I absolutely appreciate the responsiveness. I appreciate the hard work that everyone put into it. Sometimes we run into some bumps. We find them, we fix them, and we get people going. And no matter what they say in the papers, no matter what they say on 2, 5, 11, and 46, I believe that Fulton County has the best operation in the state of Georgia and, quite frankly, the Southeast. So I really appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Oh.
Go ahead. You got it.
Just thank you. You all know I've seen you around a lot, but thank you all again so much for all that you do. And you want to say something, or am I going to second
Well,
your motion?
can I say on behalf of myself and the entire department, we thank the board for your support. Honestly do. Thank you.
We're going to have a group hug after this is over.
Yeah.
So just stick around. We've got a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, there are none. The motion carries. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
And you can get to your...